is my honor to introduce our guest today, Lissa Coffey, and I invite you to go to Coffee Talk and see all that she does. It's amazing. That's her website, and we're talking about today preparing the way, East meets West, on this first day of Passover, and of course Palm Sunday, and all of the celebrations from the pagan throughout all the time in history, including the holy, the Vedantas celebrating what is a way of talking about spring and transformation. And it's interesting that all of these dates, it's not interesting, and it's not coincidental. These traditions have been passed down, and they all come together right around the same time. And they're about the truth of finding out who we are being, and also in the certain case of Passover, it's when the Jews were passed over, supposedly by the king, to receive and become part of the Passover celebration of getting rid of that which the king wanted to get rid of, which were the Jews. So in the traditional faiths, as the people celebrate the arrival of Jesus into Passover, it becomes Palm Sunday, and they laid palm branches all over the ground. And the palm represents not only strength, but when he was led in on the donkey, that represents resilience and stubbornness. And that's what Jesus was. He was resilient, stubborn, and also willing to let go and let God go on to his next transcendent experience. And I turn this over to Lissa.
Okay. Yeah. You know what's so fun is Easter has always been like my favorite holiday since I was a little kid. And this is the week approaching Easter, and it's so significant in terms of this is also the arrival of spring, and it represents renewal and all that. And I remember when I was little, my grandmother had made me a bunny costume because I was, you know, in Winnie the Pooh, there's that character Rabbit. So in 6th grade, I was Rabbit in Winnie the Pooh, and my grandma made me a bunny costume out of a tablecloth of all things, but I had the hat and everything. And there were these little kids that lived next door to us, and I would put on my costume, and early in the morning, I'd hide some eggs in their yard, you know, and I just thought that was the coolest thing that I ever did. So, but I've loved it ever since. And then I discovered Holy, which is really in line with all of that. Holy is spelled Holi, and it takes place on the first full moon in March. And it's a 2-day celebration in India. It starts on the day of the full moon. You know, the full moon comes at night, so the day of. And on that day, they have a big bonfire in the evening as the sun is setting and the moon is coming up. They have a big bonfire. And that represents burning off all the negativity of the old season, of, you know, the dark, cold winter. So burning off that negativity. And that's the way they kind of prepare for the newness of the next day. So, you know, leading up to that, they're preparing by getting the firewood and getting the decorations and getting the sweets and preparing for this 2-day celebration. And so that night there's the bonfire. And then the next day in the morning is the holy celebration. And this is a lot like Easter in that it's all about colors and spring and renewal. And the way they celebrate is they have these powdered paints. So everybody wears white, like all white. And then you chase each other around and throw these colored powdered paints at everybody. So everybody's getting color like all over them. And, you know, now they even do like colored water, so they can have, you know, water balloons that they throw and everything. And by the end of this whole big fight, and everybody participates, the little kids through the grandparents, the neighbors, everybody just gets in on it. And it's this big, fun, festive celebration. And then at the end, everybody's just like covered with colors all over the place. And then they take pictures and everything like that. And it's just hilarious because it's on your skin, it's on your clothes, it's all over the place.
You know, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and originally the way they thought of doing this is because, like, way back, it's a Hindu tradition. Krishna, when he was a little kid, he was this blue color, and he loved all the gopis, all the girls, the cowgirls, and everything who loved him. But he was like embarrassed that he was blue. He thought, oh, they're not going to like me, you know, because I'm blue. And then Krishna's mother said to Radha, like his favorite gopi, well, you can paint Krishna any color you want. And she took some of these paints and was like painting his face, and they became all silly and lovey and everything. And so then that's how they decided we're going to celebrate love and spring by throwing colors on each other.
Oh, and you know what's so interesting is all of them, what you're talking about is letting go of, like, when we talk about spring and we're talking about bringing more color in and more joy in, it's like that transition from the darks, you know, the dark of winter, the cold of winter, and transcending into the light and the fun and the joy. And my favorite line is, we're here to give God a good time. That is our main mission here on earth. And so all of these things remind us to come back to God. And I loved this morning what Swami M said about, I asked him, I said, well, when we were talking about life after death and, you know, near-death experiences, and he's done all this research. And basically he was saying also, when I asked about the mystics, when they see the oneness and they see the allness, and he told the story of how Krishna, and can you remember that story? Will you share that story again with us about the mystics and what they, and what Krishna was saying, Ramakrishna was
Yeah,
saying when he was
Ramakrishna.
saying, when he was dying. Yeah.
Yeah, he said it's all God. It's all God. You know, when you are in that enlightened place, it's all the same. You don't see any separation. There's a famous story Ramakrishna used to tell all the time about this man who was a very devout sadhu, and he was just begging for his food or something, and he got totally beat up. And the monks found him and brought him back to the monastery, and they're like, oh, they're fixing him up and helping him regain consciousness. And they're like, who did this to you? Who did this to you? And they're like, oh, it's you. And they're like, what do you mean? It's you that did this to me. The same person who's healing me is the same person who hit me. He saw everybody the same. He couldn't differentiate between people. That's when you know you really have that enlightened eye, that you can see everything the same.
You know, and it is so, and he said that when they said, don't die, we don't want you to die, you know, you're Christian, will you not die? And he said, well, then I would be dishonoring, you know, my purpose here. And it's the same as Jesus. Well, on the cross, and in the original Aramaic version, and I always say this around this time, is when he was on that cross, and the Christian Bible changed it, but in his original language, he did not say, my God, why have thou forsaken me? He said something almost like Krishna said. When Krishna said, I am honoring my mother, and that is the greater good, and that is what we are here to do, the greater good. Letting go of the body is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And Jesus said, my God, this is my destiny. This is what I have come to do. And he was obviously choosing exactly going on to that next great experience, and using his life as the metaphor of letting go and going on to that next highest good, into the light, into the love of the oneness, of the beingness, and that you've come on this earthly experience where there is no beginning or no end for the soul, but the body has done what it was supposed to do, and it's done enough, and it's time to go back home. Yeah.
Yeah. And didn't Jesus also say, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do? Like he
Exactly.
was more concerned for their suffering, the suffering of others, than his own suffering. You know,
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
exactly. And
seeing
so,
all souls is the same. It's interesting how these traditions overlap so much, because I know that, you know, in Christianity, the egg represents fertility and the newness of spring. And that's how we came to decorating Easter eggs. But, you know, the Easter eggs are white, and then we dye them these different colors. And in Holy, the clothes are white, and then we're throwing colors at them to make them the different colors. And in different religions, that even the colors have symbolism. So in Hindu, the blue represents Krishna. And because Krishna has the blue skin, because Krishna is as vast as the sky, he's infinite. The red symbolizes marriage and fertility. Yellow is used to celebrate happy and joyful events. And then green is used to symbolize new life and new beginnings. So those are the colors that we use in Holy. And these are the same colors that we use dyeing Easter eggs too.
well, it also, when I was in India, there were two things. You're the one who finally told me about Krishna being blue. I asked anybody and everybody in India, and we traveled a lot of areas from east, north, south, west. And I said, why is Krishna blue? And I got the same, the Indian answer, which I never understand what that means, that wobble.
Yeah.
I think it means I don't know,
Yeah.
or it means yes and no, or whatever.
Yeah.
But
It's
they
the
didn't know, and
universal
you're
law.
the but you're the one who told me that basically he is the vastness of the blue sky.
Yeah.
He is eternal, as we are too. We are the Alpha and the Omega, and in that oneness we see the allness of it all. I was going to tell you another story. When I was in India, those who have visited know that cows are honored. They are honored, and all the tutus, the trucks, the elephants, everybody move over for the cows, who during different like Diwali celebrations and stuff are painted. They're painted, and many of them even during the year are painted all those beautiful colors. And my joke was, oh my God, the cows in India have better jewelry than I do. They are and they are so honored and so loved and honored, and all those colors do mean something, as they are honoring the deity of the soul of the cow in India. By the way, what did you know about why they are honored more than cats, dogs, anything else?
Well, a lot of it is because they give us life and nourishment with their milk. So a lot of it is because of the milk, because out of that milk you can make yogurt and you can make butter and all that stuff. And a lot of it is also because of Krishna, when he had the cow herds, you know, how he treated them as sacred beings too. That, you know, every animal in some way contributes in Hinduism. The elephants, of course, because they're so strong, and because the trunk is very discerning. You can take that big trunk and lift a log like this, or you can take the little part of the trunk and pick up a tiny little nut. You know, so animals have so much to teach us in every way. And even squirrels, which, you know, because I'm a big squirrel fan because of Greg and everything, I thought, and I asked my friends at the temple, what about squirrels? Are squirrels in the scriptures? Do squirrels do anything? And they said, yes. There's a story where Shiva, one of the gods, was making a big castle or something to protect the people. And all the animals are helping out. And the squirrels are like, well, can we help out? Like, what can we do? We're so small. And he said, yes, you can help out, because with your little hands and your bushy tail, you can help put the sand between the bricks. So that's what they did. So every animal has something to contribute, just like every person has something to contribute.
You know, and during these times, I think they I invite everybody to be reflective. And what do they mean to you, no matter what religion you are, what faith you follow? And in Jesus, I think mainly he was saying that our spiritual power is not in this world. It is in us, not as us in this physical body all the time. And so it lies in and expresses through a quiet grace in the loving presence of, we're truly centered in this Christ energy, which I've always seen Jesus as bringing as the avatar of love and bringing love to the planet. He basically taught us how to love if we would listen to his words. And as you said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Forgive their neighbors as you would forgive your own self. You know, forgive everybody, love everyone, and forgive everyone and everything, which is a high calling when you're on this planet at this point in time. I always use it to support my points of view, not others. So the ones I don't agree with, I say, how can that be a loving act when my highest calling is to see that larger picture that Krishna saw, that Jesus saw, that Buddha saw, that Mithra saw, that Zoroaster saw. All of these people saw the beginning and the end, the alpha and the omega of everything, and basically said, be in this moment, transcend this humanly activity around you, because this is your journey to remember who you are, that authentic self, and the love that you are, and the power that you are.
Yes, and there's so many parallels between Krishna and Jesus. And I remember one Christmas I talked about their births and how that all happened and how the stories are so right in line with each other. But it's the same thing with this time of year also, with Holy and with Easter. And when you talk about forgiveness, that is how Holy ends, because at the end of the day, everybody cleans up. You know, you take a shower, you wash your clothes or whatever, and you sober up after having so much fun there. And then you dress for the evening, and friends and relatives gather together and exchange sweets. And by exchanging sweets, it's showing that there is love between us no matter what happens. So it's a festival of forgiveness and new beginnings, and it's meant to generate harmony within society. So that's what it's all about in the end. You know, Jesus was all about love, the path of love. Krishna was all about bhakti, the path of love. Here we are again, right? I love, it's perfect. It's perfect.
And I think that all of these celebrations, no matter what they are, they come to help us remember that we are one with that highest and source. And you can call it Buddha, Jesus Christ, whatever you want to call it. It is the consciousness of the love. And so I believe that the story of Jesus is our story. It's our awakening as we grow and understand the way of God, the highest and most energetic presence. We become ready to show the full depth of our true power. And as we become ready to give life to that true power, then we become our authentic selves. We truly transcend it all. And I don't know how many lifetimes and how many universes, how throughout the entire cosmos, that it takes for us to remember that we are the power and the presence of the love that resides within all of these deities. They all came from that place of love, and to remember to bring joy. And I think these celebrations are to remember the birth of and transcendence of awareness and oneness with the thing itself.
Yeah, and we can actually do this every day, you know, in our spiritual practice of meditation and prayer, singing, chanting, you know, remembering the name of God, whatever it is for us. If we bring a little bit of that into our day every day, life is beautiful.
Yes, yes, it is. And so when we go within and we look at all the symbolism too, like you used all the symbols of the colors. And when Jesus rode in to Jerusalem, you look and you see that the donkey he's writing, and it's stubborn and has his own mind, and that's what we're like too, unless we open up to something greater. Or I always say, is the donkey riding us, or are we riding the donkey? So, and if there's confusion in how we feel between fear and love, we remember that writing in these symbols of writing in as the colors, like Krishna being blue to the vastness of the sky, riding into Jerusalem represents our abiding consciousness of inner peace. And one of the ways we can remember that is meditation, meditation, meditation. Whatever works for you in that meditative state, and learning more about the spiritual aspects of all of the religions, I think is one of the greatest gifts that you can bring to yourself. And also representing, when we go through all this, the mature awareness, when the Christ made his transition, when Ramakrishna said, I am here to move forward in my love for something greater. All of these things, we are surrendering to the Christ nature, the Krishna nature, the God nature of it all.
Absolutely. This is a special week, between Palm Sunday and Easter. And I think it would be good for all of us to just reflect and see how we can move forward as a new beginning and treat this as a new season with new opportunities for us. How can we learn and grow? How can we serve? How can we love more deeply? Something as simple as that.
Yes. This last 3.5 weeks has been very interesting, and I did not set myself up for failure, which I want to pat myself on the back for. My kids, I have a small house, lots of land, but a small house, and my 2 grandchildren and my daughter and my son-in-law moved in with me in preparation to move next door, which is right. There was a time span. And it was interesting because the odd person out was my son-in-law, who was not feeling, this is my interpretation, was not feeling like he had no control here. And with the baby especially, we could not leave the baby alone. My house is not child-proof or safety-proof. It's got cement steps going down into different areas. And so, but it was interesting. And all I could do was, when he was upset, and it necessarily wasn't upset with me. He even said at one time, he said, this house is so difficult for me. And the only thing I ever said during this last 3.5 weeks, it's like that at a girl. I said, Ian, I said, this makes me feel badly because there's nothing I can do about it. If I could change this, I would. And 5 minutes later, he came back and he said, you know what I just said was about me. What it means to me is I can't do what I want to do because I have to watch Ronan, the baby, every single minute. And he said, so he basically apologized. And that was the only area that I felt was really the highest challenge. All the rest, let them rip up the house, I figure. The kids, it'll all come back, Lisa. Let them scratch the table. There's varnish. I'm not going to say anything about this. And it was really interesting how it left really wonderful, good times in this small house together, too, in my memory. So it's interesting. And I think eventually the kids didn't know any difference. And Katie was just trying to be perfect, get everything perfect. And she was exhausted.
But that's the house where Katie grew up, right?
Yes, exactly.
They have little kids in that house, it's like a kind of thing.
And nobody moves from this area. I mean, not nobody, that's not true. Franny just moved to be with her children. She's like 90. And so that house was built by her husband. And so it's only had the one owner. But interestingly enough, they all said, we saw Katie grew up. This is so great. She's coming back. She's come full circle.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that amazing? It's amazing. Yeah. That she came back. I don't know anybody who goes back to their hood, so this is amazing. So anyway,
Like when
Yeah.
she was little, could you have pictured that? Oh, Katie's going to grow up and move next door to me. I mean, who knew?
No, no, no,
See?
no, no. Isn't that amazing? And she wrote Franny a letter, when they were the price, which I won't tell you. Katie said, "This is our limit, and it means more to me. You know, this is our financial limit. You know, when they were asking for monies, more, you know, for more for the sale of the house." And she said, "It would just mean so much to my family. I have such fond memories growing up there." I went, "You got to be kidding me." But wasn't that a lovely, it was a lovely coming home for all of us. And I think eventually for Ian too. But his parents, they live like you know, 2 minutes away from here too. So it's good. It's
That's
very
great.
good. Yeah, it
That's
is. So,
great.
so in this birth, in this temple of spirituality, it symbolizes the Krishna letting go of his ego, Jesus letting go of his ego in that earthly body. This is my closing statement, and I want you to close. And it goes into a letting go of the temptation to be in our our ego. See, I'm thinking of spring again, the eggs, one of the traditions here, and coming forward in these awareness. Literally reminds us to release our attachment to this temptations of this earthly life and the materialism of this earthly life, and spend more time embracing the good of our oneness with the everythingness, which is the nothingness, which is the allness. I say you can't, it is the beginning and the end. And more in my life, I only know when I go to that place of oneness and in that place of givingness, then what happens is more good flows in and through and as me like the hose, as Buzz said. When I am in judgment and attached, I close off that energetic loving presence that so many people have given their lives for me to wake up and be aware in my soul of soul, in my authentic self. That's my closing here on Passover and
Yeah.
on Palm Sunday.
Yeah. And these traditions and these holidays have gone on, you know, from as long as we can remember. And I think this year, especially with everything we've been through, that having a time to recognize spring and renewal and new beginnings and forgiveness and coming out of the darkness and into the light is just so powerful and so meaningful to us right now that we really need to embrace it with a lot of joy and a lot of optimism, you know, a lot of forgiveness, just a lot of open heartedness, and you know, love coming both ways, giving and receiving that love.
Oh, that was beautiful. And before I thank you so much for being with us.